and welcome to episode 24 of the Sweet Lavender Knits podcast. My name is Christine and I'm coming to you from just outside of Toronto, Ontario in Canada. Welcome to those that are new and welcome back to anyone that's returning. Today is December the 16th, 2018, and I want to thank you very much for joining me today. You can find me on social media on Instagram as sweet_lavender1 and on Ravelry as sweetlavender1. The podcast is mainly about knitting, some sewing, crocheting, and other crafts as I fancy them. So for anyone that's new, just to explain that I don't have a local knit night to go to, so I've invited you to mine, and so I hope you will grab your needles, something nice to drink, your favorite project, and let's get started. A very big thank you to Ellie of Craft House Magic Podcast for a shout out in her Vlogmas for December 15, and I saw a sudden surge of subscribers, and I was a little surprised by that, so I had a feeling it might be Ellie, so I went and checked out her Vlogmas, and yes, she did mention me, so I want to say a very, very big thank you to you, Ellie, for doing so, and for all those that have subscribed. I hope you enjoy what you see, and if you do, hit that like button and the subscribe button and that little notification bell, so you'll be the first to know when I upload a video. Thank you very, very much once again for all the lovely comments and for all those that have been taking part in our KALs all through this year. I will try to squeeze in another podcast before the end of the year, but if not, I want to say this upfront that I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and the best of the season for those that do not celebrate Christmas, that you will have the best of the season, and that you will have a very safe and happy holiday. So I don't really have show notes for today. I don't put up show notes anywhere. It's just something for me to follow along, so I'm not rambling too much. But today I haven't even managed that. But let's see how we go, because I really do want to do this podcast, and I had a zillion things to do, you can imagine, a week before Christmas. So we got our Christmas tree yesterday, and it's after a very, very long time, we've got a fresh one again this year. I'll put that up. Maybe I'll do a little bit of footage of the tree at the end of the podcast if I remember to do that. We'll see. So it is it's festive, at the same time it's a little busy. I think it comes with the territory. So yeah, I'm just trying to enjoy it the most that I can. I hope all of you are, and I'm very, very curious to know what you are working on while watching this podcast. So go ahead and include that in your comments down below, what you are watching or what you are working on while watching this podcast. I wish I could knit and talk at the same time. I wish I could do the podcast while I'm knitting, because that would be the ideal knit night for me. However, I haven't gotten there yet, but like I said, I am working on it, and now I'm able to do a little bit of knitting without looking at it, but I haven't managed to actually talk while knitting. So baby steps, we'll get there. But yes, I want to just take a moment to reflect on 2018, and I have to say that it has been really a growing experience for me as far as my crafting life, and I owe it a lot to this podcast and to all of you for engaging in it, in the different knit-alongs that I've done, and just being more involved in the community of or this knitting world. I think it has been a really, really fantastic year in that sense. There have been many ups and downs health-wise, but I'm glad to be able to say that at the end of 2018 that I am able to look forward to 2019 as a year with more vitality and health, and I wish that for all of you as well. I can say that crafting has really been my way of, it's been very meditative for me, and I think the quiet time of having that time to myself while I'm knitting, whether it's on the train or a few rows at the end of the day, that it has really helped me. But yes, and so the word that I started off with at 2018 was relate. And I can say successfully that it has helped me throughout the year. And I've really been able to put that into practice and relate to others, relate to my work, relate to my crafting, my knitting, and just being able to connect somehow. So yes, I don't have a word yet for 2019. I really think that it helps to have a positive perspective on things, and isn't that what this podcast is all about? Is I don't have a knit night, but here I am creating one and making one for all of us. So I thank you very much for being part of that knit night and for making it happen, really, by coming to watch it episode after episode and just being a part of it. And also another thing is that I want to say a very big thank you to Debbie, who's Ivy Norman on Ravelry, who reached out to me and just wanted to give me a Christmas gift, which was a pattern from Ravelry. And so she said that this is her knit night. Because of her work hours, she's unable to go to a knit night, a local knit night, and so she appreciates the podcast. So thank you very, very much, Debbie. And so I went through the patterns on Ravelry, and there was one that had spoken to me many times. Every time I saw Amy of Stranded Podcast talk about her Rocane sweater, that I wanted to knit one too. So that's the pattern I've picked. It's the Rocane, and I will put the designer's name up on the screen, as I didn't write it down. I should have, but I didn't. So yes, I will do that. But thank you very, very much, Debbie, for your lovely gift, and I'm sure I just can't wait to get started on that sweater. But I have a few projects on the needles that I have to get done before I can cast on. Actually, that might be a lie. I might cast on sooner, but I have to go shopping for the yarn first, because I think it requires a DK weight yarn, which I don't have. So well, I don't have a sweater quantity, so I will go shopping for it, and hopefully that will be something that I look forward to in 2019. Moving on to finished objects, and I have two to share with you today. Yes, not one, but two. And for those that are new, I just want to mention that I am quite a slow knitter, so having a project done for every episode is what I hope to, but not always accomplish. But today's podcast, you are lucky, because I have two finished objects. So let's get right to it. The first one are my very festive, I'm going to call them my elf socks. A pair of socks that I've knit out of Ellie from Craft House Magic. The set was called Jingle Bell Rocks, and it is a lovely self-striping or micro-striping yarn in red and white, and there was a mini skein in the green. So here is my pair. It is just vanilla socks with a fish lips kissed heel and decreasing toe. I don't know what this is called. That I finish off with a Kitchener stitch. So yes, I loved the yarn. For those that know me over the episodes, I've mentioned that I don't enjoy knitting vanilla socks. I find them extremely boring, but I took an exception for this pair because I really wanted to show off the yarn, and I tried a few different patterns, very subtle patterns, so that it won't subtract from the yarn because I wanted to show off the micro striping on the yarn, and I was just not happy with it. I didn't want anything to break the patterning or anything like that, so I just left it as vanilla socks. And so it was I enjoyed knitting it only because of the yarn, but not knitting the vanilla pattern at all. But it was quite worth it because I love how it turned out, and it is my perfect pair of elf socks. So this brings me to the 9th pair of socks for this year, and I look forward to meeting my goal of 10 pairs of socks for this year. So we'll see how that goes. And here is what's left of the yarn. Here is the mini skein. I think I should be able to squeeze at least heels in this with the yarn, and I haven't weighed the yarn, but I'm pretty sure I could get like short socks, a pair for my son. So we'll see how that goes. So that's what's left of it, and that is my first finished object. And the second finished object is a pair of mittens that I test knit for one of my viewers, and that was Mary Ellen. She has her first pattern out on Ravelry. The pattern's already out, and I am going to just wear on these mittens so I can show them to you. They are a simple pair of mittens, but what's special about them is that they're knit fingers down, and I think they call the fingers down mittens by Mary Ellen, and I will put the name of the pattern as I'll link the name the pattern in the description box, and I'll also put the name up on the screen so you can see. So this is knit out of DK weight, and or worsted weight, and I knitted out of lichen and lace in the baby eggplant colorway. So yes, it's a very nice pair of mittens, and extremely warm because it's knit to a tight gauge, and it is very nice, really. It was fun knitting it. I had a few questions about the thumb grafting because you have to do a little bit of that, but it worked out pretty well. Like, I'll show you the better one because one of the hands works out better than the other. Well, it did for me. No fault of the pattern at all, but there you go. And so you start off at the top of the fingers and you work your way down, and without giving away too much of the pattern, but it is a paid for pattern, but it's very nice. And I would suggest that if you are knitting this pattern, that you use the most funnest, I know that's not a real word, but the most fun yarn you can think of, because it really showcases the yarn. And I think it will just really go, it's a simple pair of mittens that you can make in a weekend or less even. Like, it took me with my questions, it took me, maybe if I put it into a number of hours, a day and a half, and that was it to get these mittens done. So really fun pair. And Mary Ellen has been very nice and offered our podcast pattern, one copy of the pattern, as a giveaway. And so I will go ahead and draw out of the comments down below for the mittens. So thank you very much, Mary Ellen, for your pattern, as well as for the opportunity to test knit for you. And it was a lot of fun. And yes, go and pick up that pattern, because it is great for last minute gifts, or even just a pair of mittens for yourself. So that is something that I'll be doing probably before my next podcast. So I'll give it a 2 week time. Yeah, so leave your comments down below, and I will pick a winner out of that. I really am all over the place. So those are my two finished objects for today. I'm just going to take a sip of my drink. All this talking is making me very, very thirsty. All right. So to start off with, I have quite a bit to share with you today, so I better move on. Let's move on to works in progress. The first one I have to show you is my 10th pair of socks that I'm working on, and I hope to have it done before the end of the year. It is my log cabin socks. I'm calling it that because it's knit out of Timber Yarns double sock, and it's in the log cabin colorway. Basically what it is a big ball of yarn that comes all wound up, but when you start when you take the yarn, there are actually two strands, and so I unwound the ball of yarn and wound it up into two separate balls of yarn. It was just easier for me to knit it that way, and so that's what I've done. And I'm knitting off of one, and what you can hear is that little Jingle Bell candy cane progress keeper that came as part of the Jingle Bell rock set for the sock set from Ellie. And I love this stitch marker, and it's the perfect time of year to be using it, really. But I had to think twice about it when I was knitting on the train. But you know what, now it's very close to Christmas, and I'm just gonna sit somewhere else if it bothers people, not in the quiet zone of the train, so that I can actually, you know, have my little Jingle Bell with the candy cane progress keeper on while I'm knitting, and just, you know, feeling in the festive mood. So that's what it is. It's a self-striping yarn, and I have now completed one of the color repeat, and right after this it actually goes back into the gray that you see right on the bottom there. I'm using a contrast color for the cuff, heels, and toes, which is a mini skein that I got from another set, which was part of the Backyard Chicken collection by Hugh Loco, and I thought this color goes very well with this yarn. So yeah, that's what I'm using. And the pattern that I'm using on here, it's a self-striping yarn, but like I said, I think I've done enough of the ribbing, the 4x1, 4x2 ribbing, or you know, this would be like a 6x1, a 6x2 ribbing. And so I've picked a pattern that has a little bit of rib, because the rib is very nice. It fits very well on the leg or the calf, but it has a slight pattern to it, if you can see that. And it's called the Simple Skyped Socks. It's a free pattern, and it is a lovely pattern. It's very easy. You just have to read it maybe once or twice, and it's a very easy stitch pattern, and yet it has that little bit of interest that you know, adds to the pattern. That is my first work in progress. And now moving along to the next one, I'm just going to reach down onto the floor to grab that, excuse me. This is a pattern that has come out of hibernation after almost a year. And it was something that I started right in the beginning of the year. I don't know how much I showed you last podcast. Actually, I can't remember if I even showed it to you. But here I am, and I want to share it with you because this is what I've been primarily working on over the last 2 weeks, and it is my Beaumont jumper. It is a lovely cabled jumper that it has a cable top that has a different construction, and that's what really interested me in the pattern. It's a free pattern by Blacker Yarns. This is also a free pattern but today. So Blacker Yarns, and they have it on their website, I believe, and maybe on Ravelry as well. I'm not too sure, but yes, and it starts off at one end of the sleeve and works its way up past the sleeve and then past the neckband. Where is that? How do I show it to you? Here. Okay. The neck, and then you cast off some stitches, and then you come and pick up on the other side of the neck, and then you finish that. So that's where I am right now, is working in. Actually, I had, you know, done more of this, but I had to rip back, and so here I am back at that spot. But just to show you where I was the last time is where this progress keeper is. So I had finished the sleeve, and I just gone right before I split for the neck, and it's not a good way to show it to you there. So that's where I was, and I did maybe just about a row or so a repeat the last time before I showed it to you. So I've knit quite a bit, and I really enjoyed knitting the cable pattern, because after I got into the groove, it was just a matter of getting through it. And I was hoping to, I didn't do any knitting yesterday. Can you believe that? Nothing, not even a few rows on my sock. And it's not that I did not have some time, it's just I was so exhausted from doing other things that I just wanted to sit and, you know, stare at the TV screen instead and not do any knitting. I just didn't. I don't know why. But I could have easily finished this, and I would have had more to show you, but oh well, you know, it happens, and that's just the way it is. So I know that once I'm past and done with the sleeve, the next sleeve, then it's just picking up and knitting the body, and that is all stockinette, and I'm hoping that that'll go pretty fast. So I want to get at least the Beaumont jumper done before I cast on for the Rocaine sweater, because that's another heavy knit as well, as in, you know, one of the thicker knits. And I know with the Beaumont jumper, as soon as the temperatures started warming up, and you know, when I got into spring and almost into summer, I could not knit on it anymore, so I had to put it away. So I'm hoping to cast on the Rocaine sweater. Rocaine, yeah, it's a sweater or a jumper. I wanna cast it on before I put it away for the summer, because I can almost see myself doing that. Let's see, I'm not sure, but we'll see. But yes, that's where I am with the Beaumont jumper, and I have to say I really recommend this pattern to anybody who just wants to do a simple cable. And this is not complicated at all, but it looks fantastic, doesn't it? Like, it looks really nice, and I like the look of cables, but not too much of it, because I think it adds volume to you. And you know, me being a bigger person, I just prefer to have things that are more streamlined, I guess. But yeah, the one modification I've done so far, obviously I've increased the repeats just to accommodate the upper arm, because I do have larger upper arms, so I've had to make a little bit of an adjustment on that. But the other modification I did was my cast on. I think it just asked for a regular cast on, whereas I did a tubular cast on, and I like the look of that. I don't know if you can tell much of a difference, but it almost seems like it's seamless and just, you know, goes right over. So it's a very small area where you can practice a new cast on if you'd like, and I suggest that you try the tubular cast on if you are working on a sleeve. So there you go. That's my second work in progress. I'm using my nickel plated needles from Knit Picks, and this is in size 4mm. I refer to all of my needle sizes in millimeters, and the yarn is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, and I believe it's in the Heather colorway. It is in the Sprinkle Heather colorway. There you go. So yes, which is 100% Peruvian Highland wool. So yeah, it has a nice feel to it, and I'm hoping that it will not be too scratchy. I have never worn it on directly. I've knit with it a couple of times, but smaller projects like hats and mittens. But yeah, this is my, and this is a very old project bag that I made for myself. It was, and I'm not even going to bring it close because it's pretty bad, but it was my attempt at applique and not a very good one. But yeah, a project bag that I thought was cute, and it was supposed to have the look of a house. The third work in progress is a joint effort between me and my mom, who I've you know, got a little help from recently to work on this project, and she loves it. I had to literally get it back from her just so I could share it with you on the podcast. And it is my granny stripe blanket that is growing, and it's been so long since I showed it to you. So the last time I showed you this blanket, this is where it is. This is my cast on edge, or cast on, is it? Or chain on edge because it's crochet, and this is how much I had done, where this little progress keeper is, and all of this is what my mom's done. So it has really grown. Whoops, I'm undoing some stitches here, but yeah, there you go. And this is just all of the leftover yarn from different projects that I've done, and I don't remember all the yarns to go through it, but I just want to show it to you because I think it looks lovely, and it's growing, and it is quite a large blanket. I used 303 or 310, I can't remember, but 300 and something stitches to cast on, and I did a foundation-less chain in crochet terms, just so that it'll have a nicer finish, I think it is. And yeah, and I've really enjoyed working on this project, and I showed it to Mom, just a few stitches, and she knows how to crochet, she knows how to knit, she knows how to sew. She's a great crafter, or used to be, but over the years she's just lost interest, mainly because it's taken a toll on her eyes, and she does a lot of gardening, and she has her love of orchids, as do I. So her interests have been shifted elsewhere, you know, in recent years. But yeah, when she tried out this crochet blanket, she really liked it, and so she was actually going too fast for me to keep up with her in terms of providing her with more yarn. And so you can see that some of these have blocks of color where she's had to do several rows of the same yarn. All of these different rainbow colored yarns are actually the same yarn, and yeah, she's used it for a few rows, and I don't mind that. Like, it has a nice look to it overall, which is what we are going for. So currently the top row that it's on is just a little bit of leftover, and this is Sweater Weather by Cozy Posy Yarn Co., which is the last bit left over, apart from a cake, almost 100 grams of it, from my Zweig sweater that I showed last week. So yes, that is being housed, and I'm just going to squish it up and put it in there for now. While I show you the project bag, it's a nice larger project bag that I have, and this is from Fondant Fiber, and it was part of her Little Women collection that she did maybe 2 years ago, and I got this bag from her. So yeah, it's nice, very nice bag from Deb. Anyway, so now moving on to some yarn that I've received as a gift, and just a little bit of background on that is that my husband was away for a couple of weeks, or more than that, almost a month, and he was in Eastern Europe, And I got a call one night because of the time difference, obviously, in the middle of the night, and I knew it was quite urgent because he has always been very mindful of the time difference when we talk to each other and all that. And so I picked it up right away, and I was like half asleep, and he put me on a video call, and there was somebody I didn't know, and they were standing in a yarn store, and the lady was asking me what exactly I wanted, and she didn't speak very much English, but I just said wool, and I said soft wool, and so she said something like, oh, it's a 50-50, and I said, yeah, I guess so. I didn't know what, and she showed me on the video camera, you know, the colors, and it was like a candy shop because they had so many colors and so much yarn and everything, and my husband has no idea about, you know, any kind of wool, if I were to say it, or anything like that. So just the fact that he was standing in a yarn store asking me what I wanted from there was just very, you know, very sweet of him, I guess. So I pointed out a few colors, and I asked him, is it okay if I get some sweater quantity, because that's what I want to do for the next year. I want to knit more garments. So he told me just to, you know, tell him which colors I want, and he'll try to decide on how much he can bring. And so here is what I got. Yeah, all of that is yarn. So let me just go through, and I will show you some of the yarn that he got, and maybe I'll show you one of each, because most of them are sweater quantities. And 50-50, what I found out is it's wool, 50% wool and 50% acrylic. So the yarn is very soft, as well as it's got wool content in it, which makes it fantastic, I think, for sweaters. And yes, so anyways, it's a brand called Elise, Classic Elise Lana Gold 80. That's the first one. And I am thinking that that's the color. It's got color 151, and this is 50% acrylic, and or 51% acrylic, 49% wool, and it doesn't say what kind of wool, but yes, and it is really nice, and it's a very dark gray, has a little bit of a heathered look to it. And it's nice. The ball bands are all damaged because it, you know, he had to like squish it in his luggage to bring it, but that was really nice. So I have a sweater quantity of this yarn. The next one is also by Elise, and this is it's a batik design Elise in Angora gold, and it's called Simli. And I'm just looking for a color 1602. It's a lovely speckled yarn. I don't even know how it's going to knit up, but I just like the colors. It was very, very nice. And there, that's the label. So I got 2 of these, and I'm thinking it's got Angora in it. And I'm thinking it will be very, very nice for maybe a shawl or something like that. So that's the other one. And there is, oopsies, I asked for this one, the labels come right off, but I asked for a neutral to mix with the gray, because I think it'll go very well. And I have in mind to knit some color work in a sweater, simple color work maybe, and I thought the neutral would look very nice with the gray. And this is again Elise in the Lana Gold 800, and this is color 62. So it's just a neutral cream. This is a navy, which is a navy, because everyone can do with a navy sweater, right? Because I think navy is such a nice neutral but sort of a classy color. So yes, this is also in the Elise Classic Lana Gold 800, and this is color 590, and it's a navy blue. So that, and I think that'll go very well with the white as well if I wanted to mix it up for that. So those two, and then so that's a sweater quantity of the navy as well. I have two of these, again, the Angora Gold in the Simile, Angora Gold Simile, and this is color 4741, and it has more of peaches and browns and grays, and yes, it's very nice and soft, and it has a little bit of a rustic feel to it, just a little bit, but it's still very soft. So I think, and a very nice halo, if you can see that, like apart from the metallic whatever it's called, but it's got a nice halo to it, and I think I like those colors. That looks nice. I mean, I thought, you know what, if I had done this sooner, I could have used this for a giveaway for Christmas, really, because these could go as Christmas colors. But this is the Elise Angora Gold Simile also, and this is color 2527, and you can see that it's got the lovely greens and reds and pinks in it. So, you know, Christmas colors, I think, and it'll just be nice. I've got two of these as well that I will be giving away at some point. So yes, that was quite a bit of a surprise for me. It was very sweet of him to have done that, and I really appreciated it, you know, when my parcel was taken out of the suitcase. I thought it would be just maybe one sweater quantity and maybe another set, or you know, of the two that I had picked or something. But he actually brought everything that I chose, which was very sweet of him. So yay for husbands who support your love of knitting, I guess. Last but not least, I wanted to say a very big thank you to all those that have been participating in our back to school KAL, which has now ended. I wanted to close off the thread. I haven't done that yet, but I will I have picked a winner, and I will just share that with you shortly. So this is the project that I worked on for the back to school KAL. The back to school KAL was basically to learn a new technique, try a new designer, something that's new to you. And what I picked was 2-color brioche, and it is the Sizzle Pop shawl, and I will put the designer's name up on the screen. And this is as far as I have gotten. It's been a while since I've actually worked on this design, because worked on this project, because I have not I've had other things that I needed to do, so it has been a little bit on the back burner, but I hope to have it done before spring, so you'll be seeing more of this in my works in progress in the coming episodes. But yeah, there it is, with a lovely little project, a progress keeper as well. So yes, and now our knit along has come to an end. I thank you all for participating and for your lovely projects that you've been showing there. We just had the one chatter thread this time, and I wanted to keep it very light and not put any stress on you to have to complete it, knowing obviously that I wouldn't be able to complete my own. And it's a new technique that you're learning, so you don't really want to rush it. At least that's the way I approach things. Is anyways, yes, so we went ahead and picked a winner. We meaning me. There were 119 comments or posts by the end of yesterday, and so I have done a random number generator between 89, which is where it stopped at the midterms, and to the 119, and we have a winner. It is post number 109. That is Crystal SR46 on Ravelry. Congratulations, Crystal. I think that's your name. Congratulations. You have won the prize for the KAL, and the prize has been donated very kindly by Noble Ruby Designs, which is where I got yarn from. She's a local, meaning a Canadian yarn dyer, and she has been very kind enough to offer the podcast viewers a skein of yarn from her shop. So because she ships only to Canada, Crystal, what you are going to do is go on her website, which I will link down below, and you can pick a yarn from her Etsy shop, and then let her know. You can message her with it, saying that you are the winner from the Sweet Lavender Knits podcast giveaway, and I will text her as well in the same time to let her know. And then she will send the yarn over to me. The reason is because she only ships in Canada, and so I wanted her to ship it to me so that I can add a few goodies before I send it on to you. So it'll be a while before you get your package. I hope you don't mind. It's been very kind of the dyer to donate one of her skeins of yarn for our podcast. So thank you very much again to Noble Ruby Designs for the donation. Thank you all for watching. I think that is all for this week, and I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas again and a very Happy New Year if you don't see me back before the end of this year. I'm hoping to do another episode at the end of the year, but if not, see you in 2019. And I wish you all the very best and happy knitting. Bye-bye.